It all starts in Seoul in the year 1993, with the city going full steam ahead. At the brokerage's Gangdong branch, a client wants to invest 100 million won and demands at least a 30% quick return. Growing impatient, the man slams his hand hard on the desk and demands a straight answer about the investment. While the team tries to calm things down, he gets even more furious and starts pulling the "Do you know who I am?" card. Completely chill, a young guy in a suit confirms he knows him and addresses him as Chairman H. Wang. Right then, the guy makes a bold counteroffer, pitching a profit of over 40%, leaving the client completely shocked. He introduces himself as Cha Di-woo, the new employee at the firm, betting that he can make the money grow within the given time frame. Skeptical but curious, H. Wang wants to know if that is actually possible, and the young man guarantees he has to make it happen since it is the client's money. As soon as the chairman asks what the plan is, Di-woo grabs an envelope and asks if he has ever heard of the Seojin Trading Company. When the man says no, the MC acts like it is no big deal, stating that back then nobody paid attention to that stock in the market. The guy overflows with the absolute confidence of someone who knows exactly what he is doing. Detailing the play, he explains that the stock will flatline for a while, but a government announcement about exports next week will make the price skyrocket. The whole office drops their jaws when he guarantees that, by selling in 3 weeks at the perfect time, a 40% profit is inevitable. Without hesitating, the new hire commits to covering the difference out of his own pocket if the prediction goes south. To seal the deal, he taps the table and asks that in exchange for this win, the chairman introduce him to his VIP associates. He asks straight up if the investor is down to get in on this play. Leaving the room in a bit of a rush, the client warns that the plan better work, while the staff member politely sees him out. Relaxing a bit, his coworker says that most people struggle at first and praises his skill in handling the situation. The MC's mind wanders, and he thinks to himself that this is already the second time he is living through the year 1993. Bringing over a coffee, she keeps praising his hiring scores, totally impressed by the rookie's practical talent. The young man just accepts the drink and takes a sip in thoughtful silence. In his thoughts, he wonders if, no matter how brilliant the former owner of this body was, it would be possible to predict the future with such precision. Staring at his own reflection, he confesses that he only has this information because he passed away in the year 2020 and ended up taking over that body from the past. In his mind, memories of an old news broadcast show a massive global emergency caused by widespread health issues. During that crazy global health crisis, the situation was completely out of control all over the world. On the dreaded list of casualties released by the authorities, the names of 2 men from the corporate group ended up being added. But the records were completely fake, using the chaos of the illness just to cover up the real reasons behind their passing. The harsh truth comes to light in a flashback, where he takes a heavy punch to the face and spits out red. Completely beaten up and groaning in pain, he is grabbed by the hair while the attacker mocks him, asking how it feels to see his only friend lose his life. The sprawled body and the red-stained hand highlight the cruelty of that series of eliminations covered up in the shadows. After the double foul play, his spirit floated and, guided by a bizarre force, traveled back in time to take over the young employee's body. Clutching his head in pain, the MC realizes his memories were not the only things left over in this time travel madness. A quick flashback invades his mind, showing a person falling hard to the ground during the fatal incident. The memories of the body's original owner screaming for his friend to run start getting clearer and more agonizing. This emotional invasion is a totally weird thing for him, since he rarely felt any emotion in his previous life. Focused on the goal, the guy realizes he is finally starting to understand all that confusion brewing in his mind. Walking through the crowded street, he confesses he has absolutely no clue how this time travel miracle happened. He finds the situation funny, showing that at the end of the day, he could not care less about the scientific explanation behind it. Staring at the massive building of his old company, he recognizes that the boiling feeling in his stomach is pure anger and a thirst for payback. Completely fascinated by that visceral hatred, he declares that he finally feels truly alive. The story jumps in time again, revealing the front of a luxurious maternity hospital in the city. A newborn baby's cry echoes inside the influential conglomerate family, one of the biggest empires in the country. In his early years, the child played instruments and was treated like a true prodigy, carrying the family's sky-high expectations. The boy was so advanced that he could already speak at just 5 months old, leaving his mother entirely amazed. And by the time he turned 3, he was already surrounded by books, mastering several foreign languages with the greatest of ease. The shelf stuffed with trophies proved the kid's gift in music and the arts, making him the great promise to lead the corporation. But all that glory crumbled the day a doctor revealed a shocking diagnosis, stating the boy had savant syndrome. In the office, the parents listen in disbelief, as the specialist points out the son's massive difficulties with communication and social interaction. The report also highlights that the little guy compulsively repeated actions, on top of showing a concerning obsession with very limited interests. With the results on the table, the doctor confirms the condition very directly, explaining that it is a form of autism. The news becomes the main gossip at high society parties, with the rich whispering about the absurd talent masked by the condition. From that day on, the little boy was thrown into a dark room, having his world completely isolated from any outside contact. The silent confinement is broken when a hand pulls the door handle to try and escape that nightmare. Immediately, the teenage boy is grabbed hard and dragged backward while people panic and scream. Totally freaking out, the mother demands an explanation for him leaving and yells, wanting to know why the kid never listens to her orders. Young Jinhoo just listens in silence while the woman screams at him to answer and promise never to step foot outside the room again. This prison routine lasted over 10 years, ending suddenly when a tragic blast took the lives of those oppressive parents. At the traditional memorial altar, the portraits surrounded by incense mark the final goodbye to the boy's former caretakers. The orphan stands there in absolute silence, absorbing the whole bizarre ceremony in his own way. The calm vibe ends when a guy walks in angry and yells for everyone to hear, outraged at having to marry a monster. The man loses his patience with the young woman, repeating that this whole setup is just for her to inherit the corporate group from the clueless heir. Totally revolted by the idea, she throws it in his face that she still hates all of it and thinks the union is a massive humiliation. Without an ounce of empathy, the older guy aggressively grips his daughter's arm and tells Jeongyeon to suck it up and face reality. Blinded by greed, the father reminds her they are talking about 1 trillion won hitting their account when the papers are signed. He yells that his daughter always had luxuries in the family, and now she has the bare minimum obligation to make this sacrifice for them. Exhausted from that pointless fight, the bride looks away quietly, realizing she has zero chance of escaping that dirty scheme. With a sigh of defeat, she finally agrees to everything and asks the old man to let go of her arm and stop making a scene in the middle of the hall. Right then, poor Jinhoo is cowardly grabbed by the hair, groaning as he is forcefully pulled without being able to defend himself. The suit-wearing guy drags the boy across the floor of his own parents' memorial, telling him to stop stalling and get to the front of the room. Violently throwing the guy to his knees, the man mocks the situation and tells him to greet his new father-in-law properly. To make the low blow even worse, he pushes the young man's head down, forcing a humiliating bow in front of the opportunists. Watching that humiliating scene with disgust, the future mother-in-law tells director Seongjin he does not need to waste energy on the kid. Keeping the victim pinned to the floor, he listens to the wicked plan of shipping the boy off to an isolated village as soon as the marriage registry goes through. Hyped about the cruel plan, the director says they will lock him up there for the rest of his life, and then pick the perfect moment to get rid of him. The future relative loves the dark idea, already declaring victory by saying the whole corporate empire will soon belong to them. Violently thrown onto the floor of the dark room, the boy listens to the man say he has already spent his life locked up, and a few more years wouldn't make a difference to a fool. In total silence, he lies sprawled on the floor in a state of shock, processing the cruelty of the situation. As soon as the service ended, the heir was secretly transferred to that isolated place, sinking even deeper into the abyss that was already his life. In that confinement, the boy was left to rot in the dark, suffering from agonizing hunger with no one to turn to. The only person who showed a shred of kindness was a total stranger, who approached in a suit asking if the boy was huddled in the corner again. With a gentle touch, the man noticed the kid's hair had grown quite a bit. Taking the young man outside, he calmly cut his hair, asking if he preferred a specific style or if he could just keep it short. For over 10 long years, Cha Di-woo was the only person in the whole world who truly cared for Jinhoo. The reality check hits when the MC remembers that this same man refused to follow the order to eliminate him, and ended up losing his life because of it. Gripping his own shirt, he acknowledges that back during the crime he only backed away on instinct, but now he finally truly understands what that feeling is. Gripping the desk tightly, the guy realizes the boiling feeling in his chest is pure fury and devastation over the loss of the only friend he had. Facing this miraculous second chance that fell into his lap, the MC swears to himself he is not going to live a miserable life like before. The tension is cut when a coworker taps his shoulder, asking why he is glaring like that, looking super intimidating like he is about to eat someone. Trying to lighten the mood, the colleague jokes about the situation and mentions that the rookie's shoulders are completely stiff. At that, the MC stays silent for a brief second, trying to hide the anger and return to normal. Walking away, the coworker waves and advises the guy to take it easy, guaranteeing he will never find a veteran as cool as him in the company. Totally zoned in, Di-woo thinks it is impossible to take it slow, since he has a long road ahead and needs to use every detail he remembers from the future. His target is clear, planning to destroy the Akyung group and uproot the cursed family that orchestrated all that misery. Determined to get payback for Jin-Hoo and salvation for Di-woo at the same time, he promises to become a real monster to his enemies. Snapping back to work, the guy gets the attention of the employee next to him and asks to borrow the stock code book. The colleague starts frantically digging through his own desk, complaining that he had left the book right there and really needed the code to close an order. Watching the stock purchasing screen, the MC acts totally casual and asks what code the man was looking for. Without stopping his typing, the employee replies that he needs the ticker for Juhan software. With extreme ease, the MC dictates the exact numbering for the company right on the spot. The man is completely blown away, holding the little book while asking if the rookie had memorized every stock in the market. Leaning back relaxed in his chair, Di-woo plays it off and comments that it was not exactly a matter of just memorizing everything. In his mind, the only good thing about his past life as Jin-Hoo was his absurd ability to perfectly remember any information seen just once. He recognizes that this photographic memory was useless because of the severe autism in his old life, but now in this new body, it would be an incredible skill. Suddenly, an outrageous scream echoes through the office, demanding that Manager O show up immediately. Pretty nervous, a female employee gets up quickly and tries to defuse the situation, offering help in place of the manager. The wealthy client slams her hand hard on the counter, totally outraged at being blocked from choosing who serves her. The employee tries to explain that the manager is on vacation, but the woman flips out even more, saying that is why women are useless for the job. Completely humiliated, the young woman lowers her head as she listens to the client mockingly question what a girl from a commercial high school would know about finance. Watching the drama unfold from afar, Di-woo sighs quietly, finding the whole scene pathetic. The MC gets annoyed by the hypocrisy, wondering internally how one woman has the nerve to talk such trash about it. Analyzing the tense girl, he tries to recall her name and wonders if the former owner of that body had any connection to this Bayan's son Hee. Accessing his perfect memory, he visualizes the employee's file and concludes she must have been pretty invisible in the office, since she left no lasting impression. The yelling takes over the room again, with the client screaming that it was absurd for a little employee to act with so much arrogance. The desperate employee tries to justify herself, but suddenly the MC's arm steps in front of her to stop things from getting worse. Taking charge of the situation, Di-woo steps up respectfully, leaving the rich client a bit confused by his firm attitude. Turning on the charm, he apologizes and calls her chairwoman with a lot of class, inflating the ego of the woman who praises the young man's ability to read people. Satisfied with the VIP treatment, the older lady sits at his desk, grumbling that the brokerage should have done this from the start. Still in shock from the rookie's heroic move, Sun Hee just murmurs his name and keeping up the friendly vibe to calm his coworker down, he politely asks her to just enter the buy orders into the system. More relieved, the girl nods and starts typing, mentally praising the guy's thoughtful attitude. Straight to the point, Di-woo asks for the client's ID, and she hands over the document demanding the transaction be done quickly. Staring at the printed name on the card, the guy sifts through his own memories and remembers seeing that profile in the firm's client records. Keeping his charm, he asks what she wants to do today, and the woman answers that she wants to buy stocks, warning that she is going to drop a hefty amount of cash. With a tone of superiority, the client reveals she plans to invest around 50 million won into the financial market. Surprised by the heavy cash for that era, he asks about her profit expectations, realizing the client is cautious and just wants to beat the bank's return rate. At that, the MC questions the investment timeframe and asks if she has any preference, since the money will be sitting there for almost 10 years. The older woman impatiently complains that the old manager handled everything himself, while Di-woo tries to patiently explain that it is better for her to choose what to buy. Losing her patience completely, the woman starts yelling right at the desk, telling him to stop stalling and just buy whatever makes a profit once and for all. The MC gets totally exhausted by her little tantrum, wondering if she thinks buying stocks is the same as grocery shopping. The truth is that in the 90s, people bought stocks purely as a trend, without having a shred of financial knowledge or advanced home trading systems. Back in those ancient times, investors did not have the luxury of using mobile apps to track the market from the comfort of their couch. Because of that, the brokerage's live trading floor was always an absolute chaotic screaming match, being the only place possible to close deals in person. Tapping his fingers on the giant computer keyboard, he accepts that he will have to pick the stocks himself, since that kind of service was the standard back then. Evaluating the options on the old monitor, he decides to grab a company with steady growth so as not to raise suspicion with a super aggressive plan. With the paper in hand and oozing confidence, the guy breaks the silence and suggests the client drop all that money into Dekyung Industry. The old lady acts totally suspicious, claiming she has never heard of this place in her life and asking if the company wasn't about to go bankrupt. Showing the steady charts, Daewoo guarantees the company is a hidden champion of the market, capable of generating insane profits if the investment is held for 10 years. With a focused look, he plays his final card, promising that if she puts the 50 million in there, she will walk away with at least 250 million in her account. Completely in shock at the promise of multiplying her wealth, the rich client jumps out of her chair screaming the amount in the middle of the brokerage. Hyped at the possibility of getting richer, she asks if he is being serious, and the guy lies straight to her face saying he also bought a ton of those shares. Watching it all from afar, the branch manager looks pleased, finding the rookie's audacity to promise such an insane financial return pretty funny. That was Kang Han-sung, the big boss of the office, who seemed pretty satisfied with the new hire's persuasive talent. At the counter, Sun-hee hears the buy order but warns with concern that the stock price in the system was a bit higher than he suggested. Showing total firmness, the MC tells her to confirm the trade without fear, guaranteeing the price would drop to the exact value he predicted. Completely charmed by the service, the woman leaves complimenting the guy's looks and even offers to set him up with some young ladies from rich families. Trying to dodge the topic, he turns down the offer saying he needs to focus on his rookie career, while the client says her goodbyes stating he can call whenever he wants. As soon as the woman is out of sight, Daewoo sinks into his chair letting out a heavy sigh, completely drained after hearing talk about marriage. Staring at the small bank book in his hands, a wave of sadness washes over him as he remembers that the previous owner of that body was once a married man. The memories show the harsh reality of the past, where the real Daewoo sent his entire family overseas in search of a better education. Living in a tiny, empty room, the poor guy slept on the floor clutching the phone, working himself to the bone alone in Korea to support his wife and kids far away. The story continues with the phone ringing in the middle of the night, and the MC answers the call from his wife looking totally exhausted. Without the slightest bit of empathy, the woman complains about how long it took to answer, and he reminds her it is already 3 in the morning in Korea. She couldn't care less about the time and demands he stamp the divorce papers quickly to send them straight to America. At the exact same time, the memory shows the wife lying in bed with another man, cynically asking if they really need to drag things out to this point. Giving a mocking little laugh next to her lover, she suggests they speed up the split so everyone can move on with their lives without a headache. With total nerve, she announces she will raise the kids and tells the poor guy not to forget to send hefty alimony checks. Listening to that garbage, the guy closes his eyes in frustration, concluding she was without a doubt the worst wife in the world. Right then, a sound alert cuts off his thoughts, announcing that it is 11:30 in the morning and the trading session has ended. Snapping back to the present in the office, he taps a stack of papers on his desk to organize his work. A coworker praises his hustle and immediately invites the rookie to grab some lunch. Leaning his hand on the desk divider, the guy brags that the rookie gets free meals for having such an awesome veteran on the team. That guy is Young Seonjin, who leans in thinking he is the man and tells the MC to consider himself very blessed for this. But in reality, the veteran is seething with rage on the inside, hating that he has to spend his lunch staring at the rookie's face. Masking his hatred, he rushes his coworker saying he is starving, and the guy agrees to get going. However, the branch manager pops up right then pointing his finger, and asks if he can have a quick word with employee Cha Daewoo. Totally caught off guard, the guy has no idea why he is being called out of nowhere, leaving the veteran annoyed by the audacity. Smoothly, the boss tells the assistant to go eat first, guaranteeing he will grab lunch with the rookie right after. As they walk together, the older man says he is not going to chew him out and tells him to relax, but the young guy says he is not scared. Giving the employee a sharp look, the man confesses he likes that bold attitude, letting the vibe fall silent. Shortly after, the two arrive at a very simple street restaurant specializing in traditional noodles. Already sitting and eating, the manager casually strikes up a conversation, wanting to know what the kids' parents do for a living. The guy explains they run a farm, and confirms he is the oldest of 3 siblings after being asked. Downing a glass of water, the boss keeps the interrogation going and asks point-blank if his family has any money stashed away. In silence, the MC finds the overload of questions weird, wondering if this is just a habit of that older generation. Being totally honest, he states he has nothing resembling wealth, just a rundown house on a plot of land in the countryside. Finding it amusing, the manager concludes the rookie is facing life head-on without any privileges, exactly like he did. At that moment, it clicks for the MC, remembering that this man climbed the ranks without having any money or VIP connections. Joking about the situation, the boss lifts his noodles with his chopsticks and warns the kid not to start kissing his butt. Switching topics mid-meal, he asks if the employee knows who the most influential person in the branch is. Taking a bite of his food, the older guy questions why a simple manager holds the real power in the place instead of him. Stopping his meal right then and there, the boss reveals that manager Oh Kyung-sik is simply the eldest son of the Akyung group. The rookie is floored by the info, remembering that this family's construction company is the third largest shareholder of the brokerage. Deep in thought, he stares at the sheer scale of the play, suspecting they planted someone on the inside to take over the company. Without hiding his surprise, he questions if this group is really that big of a deal, since they were always classified as a mid-sized firm. Pointing his chopsticks, the manager explains the kid is only seeing the tip of the iceberg, because their financial power is insane. On top of that, the older man reveals they have strong ties to the family that owns the brokerage, justifying the guy's massive power there. Taking a sip of the broth, the man mentions the marriage rumors between the chairman's only son and the daughter of the Akyung group. The news hits the MC like a lightning bolt, making him realize they are talking about his past life as Jo Jin-hoo. Totally terrified, he wonders if only his memories traveled through time and tries to piece together what happened to the autistic boy. With his eyes trembling in panic, his mind goes into a meltdown trying to figure out who is inhabiting his old body right now. He spirals into a crazy mental mess, trying to understand who the real Jin-hoo is in the middle of this time travel madness. Taking a glass of water, the boss complains that the kid's noodles are getting soggy and asks if he is going to take much longer to eat. Snapping back to reality, the guy apologizes saying he got lost in thought, while the older man warns him about the time. Tapping his chopsticks on the table, the manager finishes his meal and states directly that he is done eating. Getting up from the chair, he tells the employee to grab his stuff so they can leave quickly, claiming he is going to foot the bill. Already outside the restaurant, the manager smokes a cigarette and brings up the topic of the rich client's service from earlier. Taking a drag, the man warns that the rookie shouldn't have closed the deal alone to avoid stepping on anyone's toes. The guy realizes instantly that the move made it look like he stole the client, and the boss agrees, saying that deals are everything around there. In simple terms, these performance contracts act as an official record of success inside the brokerage. In this fiercely competitive sector, an employee who delivers insane results can end up making more than the manager. Blowing out smoke, the older man warns that O's personality is a nightmare, and he would never let a rookie steal the spotlight like that. Walking down the street, the boss promises to smooth things over later, suggesting the young guy make up the excuse that it was a childish mistake. But the MC stops walking immediately, stating with all the certainty in the world that he did not make any mistake. Reaching out his hand with total confidence, he bets that the stock will close the day at 28,001. Finding the audacity funny, the manager laughs and reminds him the price was at 29,100, doubting such a sharp drop. Looking at the kid, the man praises his youthful spirit, but warns that he needs to separate confidence from total recklessness. Taking a step forward, the guy does not back down and asks directly what will happen if his prediction is right. Staring down his boss in the middle of the sidewalk, he makes a bold pitch and asks the man to grant him one wish if he wins the bet. Smiling at his guts, the manager agrees on the spot but warns that if the kid misses, he is going to have to cover all of his overtime hours. With a totally relaxed smirk, the MC accepts the challenge without a second thought. Walking back in a laid-back vibe, the older guy jokes that he is finally going to be free of overtime and even offers to buy him a coffee. Still on the street, he guarantees that if the kid stays late working in his place, at least the drink is on him. Later that afternoon inside the office, the manager gets up from his chair and calls the rookie over to take a look at the screen. Completely stunned, the man freezes when he sees the trading results, unable to believe the stock locked in at exactly 28,001. Leaning on the partition, the guy casually calls in the bet, while the boss murmurs that this is no time for jokes. The vibe on the floor gets tense with gossips whispering that Manager O is going to flip out, and that the rookie does not know who he messed with. Hearing the whispers from afar, the MC realizes the influence of this jerk heir is way bigger than he imagined. Worried about the situation, his coworker Sun-hee goes to his desk and offers to talk to the suit-wearing guy. Trying to help, she insists that she was the one who entered the order in the system, and guarantees everything will be fine since she has dealt with him before. Surprised by the selfless move, the guy thinks she did not need to stick her neck out like that, but thanks her out loud. Flashing a sweet smile, the girl reaffirms she is being serious, and just wants to return the favor for when he helped her with the rowdy client. Suddenly, the MC's eyes go wide as he feels a weird twinge in his chest, getting completely confused. The office environment seems to fade away as he feels an absurd calmness wash over his body, warming his very heart. This emotional avalanche is completely new to him, leaving him speechless trying to understand this incredibly human wave of feeling. After all, in his past life as the autistic heir isolated from the world, he never had the capacity to process feelings like this. The MC's mind wanders and he realizes that in his past life, his own emotions were much simpler than they are now. Back then, the guy only felt happiness when he finally got what he wanted so badly. On the flip side, he used to get pretty annoyed when things didn't go his way. Even on the day his own mother was badly hurt right in front of him, his reaction was zero. The old Jinhu confesses that the only thing he felt during that tragic moment was annoyance because of the noise. But in his current body, standing on the street at night, he feels that everything is different and confesses this flood of emotions is pretty hard to handle. Leaving work exhausted, the guy realizes he has nowhere to go back to and tries to remember where Cha Diwoo's house is. Forcing his mind, he decides to dig through his own memories to find some clue. Then he remembers that the first rented room of the body's previous owner was in a very specific neighborhood in Seoul. The memory shows a simple, humble little house at the top of a steep hill, right at the last stop for bus 588. With the destination in mind, the guy decides to go catch that ride, but a vibrating noise grabs his attention. Pulling the device out of his pocket, he quickly recognizes that it is an old-school pager. Walking up to a public payphone, he remembers that these wireless gadgets were the main way to communicate back then. The system was pretty simple. A person left a number on the pager, and whoever got it had to return the call from somewhere. Holding the receiver at the payphone, Diwoo answers the call and asks directly if this place is Gyuro Gimbap. On the other end of the line, a female employee confirms the spot and says she will hand the phone over to the person he is looking for. Right after, an excited scream calling out for him startles the MC on the other end of the line. The girl calls the guy Big Brother, making him quickly calculate every possibility in his head. Accessing the family tree in his memories, he remembers that the real Diwoo had a younger sister and brother. Playing it cool, he takes a guess at the name and the young woman smiles asking who else it would be. While working in the restaurant's kitchen, she asks which brokerage branch her brother got assigned to. Emotional, the girl cries tears of relief because it is close by, saying their parents were worried and asking him to call late. Totally panicking at the crying, the guy asks why she is in tears, not knowing if this was a reason for sadness. Confused, he wonders if he should be crying too, thinking this lack of empathy is the fault of his old autism. Changing the subject, the MC tells her he deposited a lot of money into her account, leaving the girl completely shocked. Suddenly, the restaurant owner announces that the night shift crew is looking for NI. Before hanging up, his sister tells him to focus on work without worrying about paying the money back, promising to take care of their little brother for him. The phone goes dead, leaving the guy standing at the payphone in total silence while he processes that flood of affection. Already sitting on the bus heading home, he confesses he is feeling something really weird burning inside his chest. Clenching his own shirt, he realizes this urge to cry over a simple gesture of affection is totally different from revenge. Staring out the bus window, the guy finally understands what it feels like to have a real family. In his mind, it becomes clear that the old Jinhu never had this kind of affection at home, but Diwoo did. With teary eyes, he gets emotional realizing that now he actually has people who genuinely care about him. Time passes and the next day dawns with the sun lighting up the massive brokerage building. The vibe in the office starts off tense, with employees whispering about Manager O's arrival. One of his coworkers mentions that the guy's expression looked terrifying while checking the reports from his vacation. Watching the commotion, his coworker Sunhee whispers that the suit-wearing guy came back in a terrible mood. She explains that the man's pride takes a hit every time some other employee handles his clients. Gossip runs wild in the room, with the crew guessing that rookie Cha Diwoo's days are numbered. Ignoring all the chaos around him, the MC stays locked in, typing away calmly at his desk. Suddenly, a menacing shadow approaches the guy, glaring at him with a look of pure hatred. With a tone of superiority, the man breaks the silence and asks if he is the so-called Cha Diwoo. Stopping his typing immediately, the MC looks up and thinks that their encounter has finally happened. Facing the furious figure, he recognizes the guy as the heir of the Akyung group and the one to blame for his past life. Trying to apply pressure, Manager O says he heard the rookie attended to a VIP client while he was away. With a provocative smirk, the MC keeps his cool and replies that the manager got very lucky. Showing the reports, the boss points out that the recommended stocks haven't stopped climbing, praising the rookie's instincts. Getting up from his chair with fake humility, the guy just replies that it was a stroke of pure luck. But the suit immediately scowls, aggressively warning that the young man needs to know his place. In a fit of rage, he throws the papers in the air, screaming that promising guaranteed profit for 10 years is a dirty scam. Completely unhinged, the manager demands to know who is going to take the fall if the client decides to sue the brokerage. Without backing down a single inch, The MC just stares at the boss's little tantrum with terrifying coldness in his eyes. Leaving everyone speechless, Daewoo states with all the calm in the world that he will take full responsibility. The coworkers go into shock, wondering if the rookie has completely lost his mind talking to the boss like that. Showing total confidence in his prediction, the guy guarantees that if the value doesn't hit the target, he will cover the difference out of pocket. Challenging the suit in front of everyone, he mockingly asks if that is enough to satisfy Manager O. The arrogant heir grits his teeth in pure rage, murmuring that this audacity was unbelievable. Changing his stance, the man starts laughing, mocking the idea of a simple rookie trying to compensate for such a massive failure. Turning his back to the guy, the manager calls out for veteran employee Seongjin, yelling in the middle of the room. With eyes wide with anger, the suit claims that the training level of the new hires is an absolute embarrassment. Bowing pathetically, the veteran apologizes desperately and promises to keep a close eye on the rookie from now on. But the manager waves his hand dismissing the help, maliciously stating that the young man will do just fine working completely isolated. As the boss walks away, the staff whispers that there he goes again, destroying yet another career. Holding some files, his coworker pities the guy's attitude, thinking he should have backed down at the right time. Without showing an ounce of fear, Daewoo listens to the boss tell him to give it his best shot working alone from here on out. Taking one last look over his shoulder, the heir drops a threatening warning that he will be watching his every move. Swiping his hand across the desk, the MC concludes that the whole freakout was just an excuse for the manager to kick off his plan. Watching his enemy walk away, the guy realizes he chose the exact same path of destruction as before. In his mind, a dark memory reveals that this is exactly what happened to Daewoo in the original timeline. The corporate nightmare started with petty punishments, like dumping useless tasks on his desk and excluding him from lunches. The harassment kept getting worse, with coworkers hiding important notices or leaving him out of meeting updates. Isolated in a pit of pressure, the former employee lived in an environment designed to destroy his self-esteem on a daily basis. Physical harassment was also part of the routine, with cowardly assaults accompanied by yelling for him to get his act together. Memories show a superior grabbing the poor guy, humiliating the young man for wasting the company's money. Stepping on his head while he was on the floor, they abused the employee until he turned into a mindless puppet. Recalling the dark past, the MC recognizes that this whole situation is the infamous rookie hazing practiced by O's clique. Originally, the ones who suffered all the humiliation and violence at the hands of that cursed group were the former owner of this body and his friend. But this time, it looks like the arrogant heir himself decided to take the lead in making his life a living nightmare personally. Deep in thought, Daewoo concludes that it doesn't really matter and that, at the end of the day, the situation might actually end up being way easier this way. After all, corporate groups of this type are extremely predictable, always following the direction where power and money flow. Grabbing his jacket off the chair, the guy figures out that the fastest route to winning is simply destroying the enemy's entire authority. Putting on his clothes with confidence, he is certain that this whole office harassment issue will sort itself out naturally. Adjusting his tie flawlessly, the rookie knows the current timing on the calendar could not be more perfect to make a move. With a bold plan in mind, he decides the first step will be dragging the manager's reputation through the mud using his own company. Leaving work late in the afternoon, the guy sets his main target on Akyung Trading, the famous commercial enterprise belonging to that family's group. Right then, his coworker Sunhee suddenly calls out to him in the hallway, leaving the MC a bit confused by the girl's unexpected approach. Looking at his colleague, he casually asks if she hasn't headed down for the brokerage's break time yet. The girl replies that she could not stop thinking about him all day, making the guy point to himself without understanding why. Being direct, he warns her she shouldn't be standing around talking, but the employee assures him she has been through this same hazing and understands. Walking together, he questions why she would risk herself like this in the office, and the girl confesses she was curious about who he really is. Grabbing a drink from the machine, she vents that during her turn she just took it all quietly, praising the way he stood up to the big bosses. The guy listens closely as she warns that his attitude was super impressive, but totally dangerous given O's influence. Offering him a canned coffee, the girl guarantees she wants to root for the rebellion, finding it thrilling to see someone with no power fight back. Standing in the break room, she offers to help with whatever is needed, promising to act secretly behind the scenes. Saying a quick goodbye, the employee gives a slight bow and turns her back to leave, leaving the MC in silence. Holding the drink, he thinks about how things have changed, since the main bully this time around is straight up the suited heir himself. Taking a sip of the coffee, he realizes he now has allies, feeling absolute certainty that the future of this body is being rewritten. Suddenly, the guy calls out his coworker's name decisively, making her stop walking and look back waiting for him to speak. Pointing confidently, he declares that the changes are just getting started and tosses out the idea of whether his colleague wants to make some serious cash. In his mind, that little ally is just the first step in the massive financial revolution he is about to unleash on the company. Surprised by the investment tip, the employee repeats the name Akyung Trading, trying to figure out what the play is this time. She remembers that this is simply the parent company of the enemy group, questioning if the guy is actually serious about buying the stock. Gesturing excitedly with his hand, Daewoo confirms the plan, letting her know he is going to scrape together every penny he can and bet it all there. The girl guesses he is expecting a solid price hike, but the MC taps the can on the table, stating it is going to be way bigger than that. He guarantees the stock is going to take off insanely fast, making the girl conclude that he definitely has some highly privileged information. Thinking over the highly risky investment, the colleague asks if she should hold on to these shares in the market long term. The guy advises her to sell everything exactly after 7 trading days, leaving the employee curious as to why that specific time frame. Explaining the strategy, the MC reveals that the spike will be temporary due to a major corporate event from the rival group. It clicks for the girl right away, deducing that all this sudden movement has to do with the merger negotiations with another company. Tapping her pen on the paper, she points out that the entire market already considers this attempt to merge the two brands a total failure. Looking at his ally dead serious, Daewoo tells her to dump the stocks by the deadline, stating that is all he can reveal. More at ease with the plan, she agrees to buy in, while he suggests using only a chunk of her savings to secure a solid profit. Putting his hand in his pocket casually, the rookie advises the girl to use this opportunity to judge the situation with her own eyes. Tapping his own chest, oozing confidence, he challenges his coworker to find out if it is really worth betting her chips on a rookie like him. The girl's eyes go wide, impressed, feeling the aura of absolute certainty the MC gives off with just those few words. Right then, the noise of conversations in the hallway interrupts the vibe, drawing their attention to the movement going on out there. Watching the staff head back to work, they realize the brokerage's break time is already wrapping up. The guy decides to head back to his desk before the angry boss shows up again, and the coworker says she will pack her stuff to follow right behind. Before leaving for good, he asks her not to expose herself for nothing, suggesting she infiltrate the manager's clique to pass along updates. Walking away, he warns that the two of them need to ignore each other in front of everyone to avoid suspicion, and the spy accepts the mission on the spot. Satisfied with the new secret alliance, the MC gives a small smile and wishes that both of them do great work that afternoon. The employee stays glued to her spot quietly, just watching the guy's relentless posture as he walks away toward the office. When his back is already turned, the girl decides to call out to him one more time, signaling she still has something very important to say. Stopping in his tracks, he listens to the girl promise that she will reward him with something really cool if the profit from the play ends up being massive. Shrugging with a laid-back attitude, she explains she hates the feeling of owing favors and always prefers to pay off all her debts. With plenty of charm in his voice, he suggests she forget about the manager's problems and just pay off the debt by grabbing a drink with him later. The scene cuts straight to the bustling office, with the crew completely shocked and screaming in awe at the amazing results. The suits celebrate as the company's stocks explode on the screen, blown away by a 50% profit in less than a week. One of the department's female employees leans over her desk extremely relieved, showering praises and giving thanks for following the manager's gut feeling. The team shamelessly kisses up to the veteran, recalling that he called the merger way ahead of time and secured a fortune for everyone. The colleague confesses she doubted the strategy earlier that day, since the whole market swore up and down that the merger deal was dead in the water. She sucks up even more, admitting that nobody there would have had the guts to buy the shares without the golden tip from his family. The suited boss brags, giving a speech about how hard it was to pass along inside intel, but claiming that everyone there is family. Right in the middle of his little superiority show, the MC's spy walks up to the group carrying coffees on a tray for the team. Never missing a chance to belittle, one of the kiss-ups tells the girl to deeply thank the boss for this, leaving the young woman a bit confused. The guy rubs it in her face that, on the day of the precious tip, she had left work early claiming she wasn't feeling well. Taking a sip of coffee, she listens to the man say she would have missed the chance to get rich if the generous manager hadn't spilled the beans. Keeping up her disguise as the obedient employee at all costs, she falsely replies that she will be forever grateful for the boss's help. Slamming his cup hard on the desk, the heir decides to test boundaries and grumbles that a simple lip service thank you is way too little. Flexing all his usual cynicism, the suit suggests the girl buy him a drink later, abusing his own position of power. The clique quickly agrees with the arrogant boss, demanding the girl spend the money from her supposed profit drinking with the group. At that moment, the MC strolls into the room acting completely natural, stating out loud that favors really should be paid back. Walking to his own desk without a care in the world, Diwoo crashes the team's party vibe and grabs the attention of every employee in the room. With a confident smirk on his face, the rookie simply ignores the heavy energy and gets ready to put on a real show of fakeness. In a totally unexpected move, he does an exaggerated bow and drops an energetic "good morning," screaming it for the whole brokerage to hear. Silence takes over the place as everyone's jaw hits the floor, having absolutely no idea what to make of that bizarre theatrical greeting. Even Manager O freezes with his snack halfway to his mouth, watching the guy yell that he is super pumped to work with them. Still thrown off by the circus act, the veterans try to match the kid's energy, replying with a mix of confusion and panic. Dropping into his chair full throttle, the rookie announces he is going to dive right into the grind, pretending to be having the time of his life at the office. While he works using the perfect cover, gossip spreads in the background, with the staff thinking he just completely lost his mind out of nowhere. Keeping the act going, the MC gives an excited thank you while getting settled at his own desk. Right then, Manager Kang gets everyone's attention and reminds them that tonight is the rookie's welcome dinner. Hyped about the idea, another suit suggests everyone drink until they drop, since the next day is the weekend. However, one of the employees complains that the team is buried in work and totally exhausted, asking to postpone the party. The boss shoots down the idea instantly, chewing out the employee for forgetting that the welcome party is a sacred tradition there. Being very direct, he reminds them that the guy's own party happened right in the middle of the third quarter, the most insane time of the year. Totally embarrassed by the comeback, the subordinate tries to justify himself, but ends up speechless in front of his superior. Watching all that commotion from afar, the wicked suit just stuffs his hands in his pockets looking thoughtful. Maintaining his leadership posture, the manager argues that the office is always crazy, but states that obligations must carry on. Shifting the responsibility, Kang asks directly if the heir agrees with the idea, leaving the guy in silence. Breaking the ice, the arrogant guy goes back to typing on his computer and agrees with the boss's words with total fakeness. He claims the entire team should show up in full force for the rookie's party, pretending to be a highly understanding coworker. But the truth is the jerk is hoping for the worst, thinking the MC won't last long at that job. Oozing pure mockery, the heir is positive his plan to destroy the guy's career is working flawlessly. Catching the malicious tone of his subordinate, the branch leader scowls, realizing there is something very wrong going on there. Meanwhile, the complaining employee feels the heavy energy in the room and finds the branch boss's tense behavior weird. Trying to lighten the awkward mood, the veteran kiss-up lets out a loud laugh and pretends to be super excited for the event. Patting the heir on the shoulder, the kiss-up praises his understanding attitude, forcing a closeness that doesn't exist. Annoyed by the physical contact, the bad guy just masks his disgust and agrees the team needs to drink until they pass out that night. With that, the brokerage leader delegates the task of finding a good restaurant to the veteran, who accepts the mission on the spot. As soon as the conversation wraps up, Manager O turns his face slyly, already plotting the next moves of his little game. Far away from all this phoniness, the MC stays entirely focused on his monitor, just watching the situation unfold in silence. Hours later, the team gathers at a fancy steakhouse, and Kang tells everyone not to worry about the bill. With the meat sizzling on the grill, the leader tells the staff to order plenty of drinks, guaranteeing it is going to be a very long night for everyone. In the middle of the celebration, the boss notices the heir slipping away from the table and asks where he is going. Holding his phone, the coward makes up a lame excuse that a huge emergency popped up at his house. Not wanting to make a scene, Manager Kang just expresses regret and says the guy can join in on the next get-together. As soon as the guy vanishes, the kiss-up complains indignantly about the audacity of leaving, but gets chewed out and told to keep his mouth shut. Right then, Diwoo also rushes out of his chair, telling his coworkers he is just going to make a quick trip to the restroom. Watching the guy walk away, his allied coworker keeps a close eye on the movement, while the others keep pouring drinks. Leaving a discreet note on the table, the rookie orders his colleague to put their secret plan into action as fast as possible. Walking away from the team, he takes one last sneaky glance to make sure nobody caught on to the handoff. Gripping the piece of paper, the girl swallows hard and mentally preps herself to carry out the dangerous mission she signed up for. Amidst the loud noise of the restaurant, she focuses entirely on her objective, waiting for the perfect window to act. Certain she has the upper hand, the employee decides it is the perfect time to start dropping fake intel at the table. The scene cuts to the dark street, where the heir walks out of the restaurant complaining to himself about the new hire's audacity. Lighting a cigarette on the sidewalk, the branch boss overhears the complaining and asks what the suit is talking about. Taking a drag, the wicked guy admits he is curious, thinking the leader is overprotecting a simple newly arrived employee. The arrogant guy's mind wanders to an old memory where coffee was purposely spilled in a humiliating way at the office. Throwing it in his superior's face, the guy recalls that Kang always pretended not to see the absurd and cruel hazing that went down on the team. Surprised by the bold comment, the manager slowly turns his head, staring down the insolent posture of his own subordinate. Mocking the situation, the heir laughs to himself and questions what the real reason behind this sudden change in attitude could be. Completely irritated by the disrespect, the leader scowls and warns that the arrogant man has totally crossed the line. Ignoring the warning, the bad guy tosses his cigarette butt onto the asphalt with maximum coldness, showing absolutely zero remorse. Staring at the older man on the empty street, he states he has a very clear view of how the real hierarchy works inside there. Without an ounce of respect, the heir rubs it in that the old man is desperate to retire in less than The suit suggests they keep pretending nothing is happening in the office, maintaining the same old toxic dynamic. Getting into a cab, the jerk goes as far as blackmailing the leader, promising to delay the old man's retirement using his own family's influence. The car speeds off into the night, leaving Kang alone on the sidewalk with his pride completely shattered. Right then, the MC pops up perfectly on cue and acts natural, saying he is done using the restroom and heading back to the table. Stopping the kid in his tracks, the manager blows out smoke and asks point-blank if he heard the whole argument. Completely frustrated, the man laments the humiliation he just went through in the final stretch of his career because of the rookie. The guy apologizes quickly, but the older man doesn't buy the lie and accuses the employee of planning this fight from the very beginning. Totally resigned to the situation, the leader confesses he never would have picked this fight if he hadn't lost that ridiculous bet. Tossing his cigarette on the ground and stomping it out, Kang deduces the challenge was just the first step in a much bigger scheme. Looking the kid dead in the eye, the boss surprises him by asking if the young man would have the guts to return the massive favor in the future. The rookie states the debt is paid, and the older man questions what his plan is now that he picked a fight with an empire. Overflowing with unshakable confidence, Daewoo guarantees Kang can relax, because the signal for the counterattack has already been lit. Heading back into the loud steakhouse, things suddenly heat up when one of the kiss-ups lets out a scream of surprise at the table. The team goes into total shock upon finding out the spy just sold all her shares in the rival family's company. Slamming her drink glass on the table dramatically, the employee grabs everyone's attention to explain the reason behind her move. Pretending she doesn't know anything, the young woman asks if the greedy veterans are interested in hearing a massive secret. One of the suits freaks out and questions the truth behind a sketchy headline plastered across the daily newspaper. Panic sets in among the crew as they read that the Federal Trade Commission is investigating Manager O's powerful group. They start losing their minds, remembering the heir swore up and down that the deal was completely clean and safe. Pouring a bit more alcohol, one of the coworkers says the bomb already leaked, and several news outlets are dropping the same info. Taking a sip of her drink, the spy throws more fuel on the fire, stating that the corporation's top executives will be interrogated. Chaos takes over the kiss-ups, who start sweating cold with fear that the stock prices will melt down and take their money with them. Keeping her posture flawless, the girl just listens to the mental breakdown of those fools, satisfied to have planted the seed of chaos. Trying to hold on to hope, one of the guys tries to convince the rest that this giant investigation must just be routine bureaucracy. Playing it smart, Sun-hee agrees that the commission would never let a massive deal like that fly under the radar. Relieved by the explanation, the idiots comfort themselves with the illusion that the wicked manager will give them the exact signal to sell everything. Treating the girl like a fool, the team mocks her, claiming it was incredibly stupid to sell off shares just because of market rumors. In silence, the MC's ally knows exactly that these men are about to lose everything by blindly trusting the villain. The scene flashes back to the rooftop deal, where Daewoo revealed her big mission was just to mess with the team's heads. The story continues with Daewoo explaining to his coworker that the whole idea is just to stir things up. He tells her to create a vibe of doubt around Manager O's words. However, the girl replies with concern that the company's stocks are currently skyrocketing. She confesses nobody would believe her even if she said something like that. Pointing decisively, the MC guarantees it doesn't matter if the team believes it or not. The real goal is just to plant the seed of uncertainty in them. At that moment, the Wicked Group's employees blindly believed in an easy win. They thought they would make bank just by following the boss's tips. But all that confidence could crumble with a simple little push. Just a tiny sliver of doubt was enough to make fear take over that greedy team. Keeping his cool, the guy tells her she doesn't need to push herself past her limit. He advises the girl to play it by ear. The scene cuts to the restaurant, where the guy thanks Assistant Youngsuk for taking care of him while a drink is poured. Holding the bottle, the woman admits stuff like this terrifies her because she is too timid. She says losing money like that would be an absolute disaster. With a tone of superiority, the veteran mentions she never imagined Sun Hee was like that. She mocks her, saying there is nothing to talk about if the rookie settles for peanuts. The vibe at the table gets tense with that toxic comment. The other two employees just watch the situation in silence, feeling the heavy energy in the party's air. The scene cuts to the outside, where a man puts out his cigarette in the ashtray. He mutters, completely disinterested, that he doesn't care about revenge or anything like that. Standing on the sidewalk, manager Kang tells the guy to stop causing trouble for nothing and just keep his head down. He confesses he just wants to lay low until his retirement. Listening to that cowardly lecture, the MC turns his head slowly to face the older man. Silence takes over the street for a brief moment, marked only by the smoke rising from the butts tossed in the restaurant's ashtray. Totally outraged by the boss's passivity, the guy asks point-blank if he really plans to sneak out the back door like that. The manager gets confused by the audacity and asks what he is talking about. The guy states he thinks it is unfair for them to force the boss into resigning like that. The suit gets annoyed by the meddling and demands to know who he is to judge the company. Mockingly, the older man asks if the kid thinks he is the chairman's son. Keeping his posture flawless, the MC reveals that technically he actually would be the heir. He guarantees he would never allow such ridiculous transfer decisions in the company. The rookie guarantees his bet would be to create solid opportunities there. Being honest, the guy claims he would rather work alongside a worthy manager who climbed the ranks without begging for handouts. That absurd smooth talking gets a genuine laugh out of the older guy. Despite the light mood, the kid replies with a serious face that he wasn't just throwing around empty compliments. Gripping his own jacket firmly, the rookie puts his intentions out there. Looking him dead in the eye, he states he genuinely wants the leader to stay at the branch until the very end. Then the young man reaches out and grabs the manager's hand in a warm handshake. Without taking a step back, he asks the man not to throw his valuable career in the trash because of the villain. That handshake seals the unlikely alliance on the sidewalk. Encouraging his target, the guy firmly guarantees the older man will still have one last amazing chance to shine in the company. Completely touched by the unexpected pep talk, the boss looks down. He hides his embarrassment by claiming the work break went on too long and rushes back to the table. Already walking away, the old man mutters to himself, trying to process the audacity. In his head, it is pretty weird for a newly arrived employee to say such strange things with so much conviction. Left on the sidewalk, the old man stares at the electronic pager in his hand. He whispers the device's name, still trapped in his own confusing thoughts about the young rookie's attitude. The script cuts straight to the loud action at the steakhouse party. The MC finally takes off his shoes to join the celebration that was already going full blast. In his thoughts, he knows the real value of his new premium stepping stone. Pulling the manager back from the edge means securing the deadliest allied weapon in that entire office. Sitting down and acting natural, he adjusts his clothes, focused on the strategy. The financial genius wonders what his next move should be to leverage that newly acquired advantage. But his downtime is quickly cut short when a bunch of alcohol hits his clean clothes for no reason. Someone there puts on a little show, pretending to be worried if the poor guy got hurt. Assistant Youngsuk apologizes for the drink accident, noticing his clothes are completely soaked. Keeping his cool, the guy says it is totally fine. With her face slightly flushed, she makes up a lame excuse. The woman says she was trying to sober up by walking a bit, but ends up admitting she drank way too much. Watching the coworker's little act, the MC spots the malice right away. He thinks to himself that the woman is using a classic, super played-out trick to get close. Asking him to wait at her table, the woman promises to pour some good drinks to make up for it. He internally regrets that the previous owner of the body fell for such a cheap scam. Accepting the toxic invite, the guy starts walking toward the designated spot. He agrees with the suggestion, addressing the woman by her title with maximum coldness. In his thoughts, memories reveal the employee's file he saw in his past life. The document showed that this assistant's professional track record was way too basic. As the girl fills the liquor glasses at the table, the MC reflects on the terrifying truth. The old Diwoo's memories proved just how awful that woman truly was. That employee was an absolute snake, obsessed only with success. Blinded by ambition in the office, she used to devour and destroy every resource she crossed paths with. For someone so dirty, a brilliant new hire was nothing but an easy target. The former owner of that body had been the perfect prey for the veteran's sharp claws. And the price of that scam was brutal in the guy's past life. In exchange for a single night of fun at a motel, the poor guy ended up mortgaging the rest of his entire life to her. The tragic memory brings up the inevitable divorce that happened years later. Coldly, she demanded a quick split so each could go their separate ways in peace. Snapping back to the restaurant in the present, the MC is fully aware of the danger. That was the exact fateful day the old Diwoo ended up falling into her trap. Sliding into the booth, the woman sits right up against the rookie, flashing a malicious smile. She tries to turn on some fake charm, complaining in a sweet voice that she waited an eternity. Right after, she slams 2 huge bottles of liquor hard on the table. The assistant warns in a challenging tone that the kid is only leaving when he manages to drain all of it. The guy thinks the amount is a massive exaggeration and complains, but the veteran points her finger, laughing, mockingly stating that it is his duty to handle all that alcohol. Ignoring his refusal, the girl mixes a ton of liquor into a giant pitcher. She keeps mocking the rookie, asking how he can be scared before even trying to drink. The whole team spots the setup happening in the corner. His coworkers whisper that she always pulls this same cruel little game every time a new employee arrives. Showing off the pitcher on the table, the employee announces the dangerous mix is done. Very hyped up, she tells everyone the special welcome drink is finally ready. Holding that bucket of booze, the MC fakes hesitation while the Viper tells him to chug it all at once. Using his best clueless disguise, he simply says thank you. Thrilled with her own act, the snake smiles with pure malice. The plan was flowing, and all that was left was hoping he would finally pass out cold from the poison. Without showing panic, the guy brings the massive container to his mouth and starts swallowing everything. The entire office table watches his suffering in dead silence. The woman's eyes gleam with excitement, realizing her dirty scheme worked. She just waits anxiously for the moment the young man loses consciousness for good. Suddenly, the loud noise of the party is cut by an announcement from the counter. A waiter at the joint asks out loud to the team if a Cha Diwoo is present. Everyone in the circle drops what they are doing and points right at the wanted guy. The messenger then passes along the message, stating very sharply that there is a phone call waiting on the line in the back. Jumping up quickly, he announces he is going to take the call. The veteran bites her lip in rage, frustrated that someone dared to ruin her night at such a crucial moment. Away from the table, the MC answers the phone, faking a lot of concern. He agrees with the person on the other end of the line, promising to head to the location immediately. The Viper runs after him and demands to know who called. Making up a solid excuse, the guy says the manager called to let him know about his dad's sudden arrival from the countryside. Surprised by the info, she asks where his family came from. Without hesitating, the MC nails the name of his hometown, keeping the dramatic act flawless. Realizing how far the countryside is, the predator can't hide her utter disappointment. Faking a rush, he ignores her pout and says he has to run and pick up his relative right now. Defeated, the woman tells him to go take care of his family without delay. As the guy hurries out, his coworkers complain loudly about his move to bail on the party right in the middle. Trying to keep up appearances in front of everyone, the assistant flashes a friendly smile. She fakes understanding, telling her colleagues that family must always come first. Thanking her for the fake empathy, the MC gives a respectful bow before vanishing. The team quickly loses interest and tells him to run so he doesn't keep his dad waiting too long. The second the guy is gone, the nice girl mask drops. In an isolated corner, she bites her nail with a face full of hate, totally frustrated that she let the rookie slip away. Far away from the brokerage, the scene cuts to the neon sign of a modest local shop in the city. The quiet night hides the next gears of the massive plan set up by the MC. Inside, Diwoo hands a few cash bills to the owner, closing out a deal. The elderly lady celebrates the big payout and praises the guy for keeping his promise. The phone from the fake call rests on the wooden counter. Politely, he replies that paying was his absolute duty since he had bothered the lady by asking for such a huge favor. Oozing friendliness, the simple woman gives thanks for the easy gig behind the register. After all, it only took one simple lie on the phone to make all that cash. The MC flashes a genuine smile over the successful rescue. Satisfied with the flawless service, he notes he dodged a massive headache thanks to the older lady and swears to come back in the future. Safe in his room, he folds his clothes, looking thoughtful. The guy's mind wonders if he should really hand this new phase of the plan over to the branch spy. Analyzing the wallboard, he stares at the massive corporate hierarchy tree of the brokerage firm. Focused, the guy deduces that the climax of his payback will go down at that welcome party. The kid sees the event as the perfect loophole to move forward. Planting the seeds of chaos among the toxic team would be a genius move in the middle of all that loud partying. Resting his chin on his hand, the guy reviews his own recent moves. The play of using Boss Kang to provoke the villain means he needs to keep watching that angle closely. However, the real threat takes the spotlight at the tip of the young man's finger. Pointing to the picture on the board, he decides he absolutely needs to keep an eye on the dangerous veteran. The scene flashes back to the employee's fake moves at the steakhouse. Watching how the venomous snake tried to prey on the rookie at dinner proves that all this caution still isn't enough with her. Looking at his partners on the board, he knows the only allies he has are already completely tied up. With no backup options up his sleeve, the kid quickly realizes he's going to need another plan. In his room, Diwoo stretches, feeling satisfied, concluding the plan worked like a charm and that this was the perfect time to find a hideout. A few days later, the guy does a solid sweep of the area around the company and finds the ideal spot without much sweat. Walking down the street, he notices a super secluded cafe with zero foot traffic, making it the perfect place to fly under the radar. From that day on, the MC makes it a point to punch in at the joint every time he gets off work, just to mark his territory and get noticed. With a ton of charm, he greets the owner and makes sure to order the most expensive desserts along with his coffee. Sitting at the table, the kid zones into his books to project the image of a super hardworking young guy, always careful not to overstay his welcome. Keeping up this routine, he quickly catches the cafe owner's eye, and she waves from afar asking the young man to come a bit closer. The elderly lady offers some fresh, warm rice cake, explaining that her own husband brought the snack in for them. Packing the container into a bag, she notes that the young guy lives alone and tells him to take the food, showing massive affection for her customer. Super grateful, the guy tries to pay for the treat, but the woman refuses the cash instantly, saying it is a gift for such a dedicated student. Even so, he insists that he feels a bit awkward taking it for free, while the older lady puts her foot down guaranteeing it is absolutely no problem. With a curious look, she notices his unusual persistence and wants to understand the reason behind so much stubbornness. Handing over an envelope, the MC asks her to hold on to it as a deposit, confessing he needs to ask for a massive favor in return. Completely casually, he asks if the lady could lend him the shop's phone the next day for him to use. The following morning, the giant brokerage building wakes up buzzing with people congratulating the wicked suit on his promotion. Back at the branch with a ton of clout, the heir takes the team's applause, pretending not to care about all the kissing up happening around him. The employees suck up by bringing up his transfer to the main office, but the boss kills the vibe by ordering everyone to grab the daily paper right away. Right then, one of the flatterers comments in awe that this is the first time anyone from that branch managed to move straight up to headquarters. Carrying a bouquet of flowers, a female employee begs him not to forget his coworkers, right before the phone rings on the desk interrupting everything. Promptly, the woman picks up the line and introduces herself politely, asking how she can help the person on the other end. But her expression flips instantly, getting annoyed as she questions who would be calling so early to disrupt the office like that. The silence doesn't last, because several other phones in the brokerage start ringing wildly and all at once on the team's desks. Absolute audio chaos takes over the room, leaving all the veterans stunned by that flood of simultaneous calls. Holding his coffee without a care in the world, the MC just listens to the panic while the kiss-ups try to figure out what is going on. Full-blown panic sets in when one of the suits pops up desperate, screaming that a massive disaster just went down. Shaking with the daily paper in his hands, the guy reveals the main headline announcing that the O family's group just got raided by prosecutors. The crew loses their minds, thinking the stock prices are going to melt instantly, getting swallowed by a bitter feeling of pure betrayal and despair. Analyzing the article while sweating bullets, one of the kiss-ups connects the dots and suspects the manager's miraculous promotion right before this scandal blew up. It finally clicks for the fools, and they start believing blindly that the heir used insider info and set them all up to lose their money. Far away from all that mess, the kid confesses to himself that all this chaos was born out of just one simple little lie he tossed into the air. That tiny seed of uncertainty planted in the team's minds was the perfect trigger to blow up the suited guy's little kingdom in the office. In the middle of all that confusion, the device in the wicked leader's pocket starts vibrating non-stop, demanding his immediate attention. Answering the call, the heir hears a furious voice screaming on the other end, demanding he come home that exact second. Freaked out, he tries to explain he is working, but his dad shuts down the excuse and orders the kid to drop everyone else's business and go fix the urgent mess. Totally pressured by the rich man's fury, the jerk swallows hard and agrees to follow orders without asking any more questions. Turning his back in a rush to sneak out of the office, he gets stopped by an employee screaming his name in the middle of the room. In his rush to ghost the place, the heir ends up slamming face first right into manager Kang, who had just walked in. Outraged by the team's mess, the older man chews everyone out for the lack of discipline and orders someone to fill out the reports in the suit's place. Trying to justify himself, the young guy tries to talk about the stocks, but Kang cuts him off and reports that the lobby is already packed with furious clients over the crash. Looking at the kiss-ups with disgust, the leader questions if the clique also recommended those shares to their clients, leaving everyone paralyzed. Rubbing his head completely exhausted, the older guy tells the group to forget their personal issues and focus on putting out that massive fire in the company. He tells the crew to keep their guard up, because the main entrance of the building already needs security guards to hold back the angry mob. The barrier is quickly smashed by investors who invade the floor, breaking everything, turning that workday into an absolute nightmare. Clients grab employees by the collar right at their desks, screaming and demanding the brokerage refund every single penny of the lost cash. The chaos hits terrifying levels, with dozens of older folks getting physically aggressive while the heir watches his reputation totally crumble. Completely terrified, one of his coworkers screams his lungs out that the wicked empire is sinking, proving that day was the absolute nightmare. The team runs around begging for calm, but the crazed mob keeps demanding the brokers take the blame for the losses. Sweating bullets, the suits get surrounded by the avalanche of people cursing the place, leaving zero room for any peaceful negotiation. Exhausted from taking a beating for nothing, the kiss-ups start redirecting all that pent-up hate toward the big culprit who dragged them all into this trap. Gritting his teeth in pure rage, one of the flatterers mutters the ex-idol's name, promising that this public humiliation wouldn't slide easily. With the tragic workday over, the MC toasts a shot of soju with the spy, who admits she was blown away by how fast that giant fell. Laughing at the total disaster, the ally asks how he predicted a police raid like that, and the kid replies he just followed basic logic. Holding his little glass, the rookie explains that stocks follow the social climate, and that relying solely on insider info was a rookie mistake of the past. Taking a sip, he knows very well that this amateur practice of using inside tips would be totally crushed and treated as a crime in the coming decades. With his mouth full of snacks, the guy mentions he needs to correct a little something the girl said at the table minutes ago. While pouring more drinks, she zones out in her thoughts and admits she underestimated the kid at first by thinking he was just a helpless rookie. In the employee's mind, it became crystal clear that this young guy has insane power, capable of flipping the whole brokerage upside down all by himself. The guy puts his hand on his chest, faking relief, and jokes that the enemies lost their minds and cursed their former leader every way possible. Recognizing his partner's hustle, he thanks her for the flawless acting, but the girl turns down the credit, claiming she was just following orders. The sound of liquor hitting the glass fills the comfortable silence, with the financial genius feeling real peace having someone loyal around at last. Raising her little glass one more time, the girl genuinely thanks him for the trust he placed in her to pull off that risky scheme. Chewing on her portion, the ally gets straight to the point and asks what the guy's next massive move against that family's empire will be. Her mind warns her that the villain is still getting transferred in a month, and with that awful personality, desperation might make him attack in a cowardly way. Confident, the spy announces she is also going to make a heavy play soon, catching the MC totally off guard with this initiative. Ignoring the surprise, determination hangs over the table, making it clear that today's win was just the start of the real war ahead. With a laser-focused look, the guy reveals he needs to figure out a way to set up shop in the United States before a huge event goes down. Flashing an ambitious smile, the young guy confesses he plans to make an insane profit and take maximum advantage when this financial opportunity blows up. The employee gets a bit confused by her coworker's whispers and asks what he said, but the guy quickly plays it off, saying he is excited for tomorrow. Swirling his glass with pure confidence, he guarantees a very interesting event is going to completely shake up the office in a few hours. The sun shines on the horizon, lighting up the brokerage headquarters on another busy day, setting the stage for the MC's next big move. Already inside the office, the young woman's eyes go wide in awe hearing the gossip about an official training program in New York City. One of the veterans confirms the hot news, telling the whole team that corporate headquarters approved this insanely exclusive reward. The board decided they are going to tally up everyone's profits and client retention, sending only the absolute best employee to an American partner firm. And the prize is way too tempting, with all expenses paid by the brokerage and paid time off right after wrapping up the studies abroad. The hallways fill with excited whispers, with the kiss-ups realizing their golden ticket to launch their careers has finally knocked on the door. In his mind, the MC knows this evaluation is the golden opportunity to rip out the false bottom of the enemy group. A month has already passed since the crisis blew up, leaving the team on a crazy work grind with zero rest. With every sharp drop in the company's stocks, the investors' fury spilled over into aggressive calls to the brand. Trying to win back the lost trust, the team held daily meetings hunting for rising stocks in the market. Ironically, the office's drive stayed strong even with all that exhausting overtime routine. Stressed out, manager Kang murmurs he would have already dumped this workload onto someone else if it weren't for the evaluation. The massive payoff behind all this effort was the dream training trip to the United States. Everyone was fighting tooth and nail for the spot, turning the brokerage into a literal battlefield. Clapping his hands to get attention, the boss asks the team to take a breather from the insane grind. He suggests the crew start taking turns on vacation, since things with the clients have chilled out a bit. Pointing straight at Diwoo, the leader orders the rookie to take his time off immediately. Surprised, the guy questions if he should really leave now, but Kang warns he's going to pass out if he keeps up this pace. Forced to take the vacation, the young guy ends up catching a train heading to his hometown in the countryside. During the trip, his youngest sister and I hands the guy a boiled egg and tells him to eat. With a sweet smile, the girl mentions she went through the trouble of peeling the whole snack by herself. A passenger in the seat behind them offers a bit of salt, and the girl promptly thanks him for the kindness. Staring at the snack in his hand, the MC internally reflects on the real Cha Diwoo's family. Chewing the food, he wonders what kind of people his relatives would be in this new life. Already walking down the dirt road, Inai grumbles that the walk to their house is way too long. The route requires a 40-minute hike through the countryside, far away from the hustle of the city. Suddenly, his sister stops and points excitedly at a house, asking if he remembers that place. She mentions they used to be super jealous of the kids who lived there, leaving the guy a bit confused by the story. The girl explains that those students always brought fried eggs in their lunchboxes, confessing how badly she wanted them. Feeling nostalgic, Inai says she wanted to make it big just so she could cook plenty of eggs for all of them. It finally clicks for the rookie, understanding the real reason she bought so much food for the trip. Satisfied, the young woman murmurs she is really happy she can finally cook that for her brother. The guy affectionately rubs her head and suggests she put 2 eggs in their parents' meals as well. In a warm tone, he tells his little sister to prep the meal so it is nice and hot and tasty. Caught off guard by the unexpected affection, the young woman's eyes widen and she stays totally quiet. With tears in her eyes, the girl breaks into a genuine smile and agrees with the excited suggestion. Arriving at their destination, Inai holds up the egg carton and calls out for their parents with total enthusiasm. Sitting on the porch, their dad welcomes his oldest son while their mom pops up smiling. The older lady hugs the guy tightly, worried about how tired they must be after such a long trip. Helping with the bags, the older man immediately asks about the company and if the young guy's salary is holding up. Hyped about the visit, their mom tells the two to come inside quick, betting they must be starving. She mentions she prepped a chicken for stew, remembering that was the kid's favorite dish. Looking at how simple the yard is, the guy wonders if that humble little house is really his home. The place looks way more rundown than in his memories, leaving him surprised that anyone still lives there. Inside the rustic living room, the whole family settles around the low table and calls the guy over to eat. Standing right at the entrance, Diwoo freezes for a split second, taking in the vibe of that homey scene. The massive meal takes over the space, with his parents insisting very sweetly that he eat as much as he wants. Right then, a sad memory from his past life bubbles up, showing the old Jinhoo having dinner in a dark place. In the lonely memory, the autistic boy ate all by himself at a huge table, isolated on the chairman's orders. The brutal difference in reality leaves the MC breathless, completely shaken by this new emotion. Noticing his son freeze up suddenly, the older man gets up worried and asks if everything is okay. Masking the emotional hit, Diwoo replies he just remembered some things from his past. He takes off his shoes to come in, while his mom tells the guy to sit down fast before the stew gets cold. During the home-cooked meal, the matriarch serves more food to the young man, who insists she eat too. The older lady grabs her spoon and kindly turns down the offer, swearing her stomach is already full. Clearing his throat at the table, the rookie breaks the silence and asks if his parents have some free time the next day. The old man checks the calendar on the wall and says they are free, agreeing right away to trip downtown to Jecheon. Curious, his dad wants to know the reason for the outing, and the guy reveals he set up a nice gift for the family. Worried, the farmer lectures his son, saying he should be saving every single penny to get married. Oozing confidence, Diwoo calms his dad down saying the brokerage pays out fat bonuses and that he made bank on stocks. Being totally real, he confesses that the cash he pulled from investments already completely blows his actual salary out of the water. His mom grabs her son's arm, getting emotional, declaring that his well-being is already the greatest wealth they could ever have. Inai jumps into the conversation hyped up too, trying to squeeze a little spoiler out of him about what he bought. Without ruining the surprise, the financial genius gives a small smile and says it is just a very modest little thing. The next day, the youngest sister stares at the massive residential building in the city with her eyes wide in pure shock. The girl screams outrageously, unable to believe her brother called a luxury apartment a modest gift. Right outside the complex, the realtor hands over the purchase documents and asks for the parents' signatures. The farmer holds the papers with his hands shaking from nerves, thinking it is crazy to move into a fancy place like that. In shock, the old man questions how luxurious the place is, and the guy guarantees he paid off the whole apartment in cash. His mom tries to comfort her husband, looking relieved, pointing out that the property was bought using only that month's profits. With a warm smile, the MC holds his teary-eyed dad's hands and promises to cover all their monthly expenses. Cutting the emotional vibe, Di-woo invites all three of them to head inside and take a good look at the interior. The family is absolutely blown away, stepping into the massive, bright living room, letting out gasps of pure joy. In his thoughts, the young guy confesses that all that cash was reserved strictly for his payback plan. Things changed when he remembered In-I calling from the factory, begging him to spend his vacation with the family. In that rushed call, the manager was screaming in the background, demanding the employee get right back to the grind. Before hanging up on him, his little sister apologized for the rush, begging her brother to think about visiting. The memory ends when the suit hangs up the receiver, finishing up at the payphone booth in the city. Standing in the dark booth, he gives a subtle smirk of satisfaction, realizing how that simple request changed everything. Picture his parents laughing in their new living room. The financial genius concludes he found a much bigger reason to fight. That milestone experience proved that the happiness of Di-woo's family became just as important as crushing his enemies. The story moves on with his parents marveling at the new apartment, while the guy takes it all in. In his thoughts, he reflects that his family will finally be able to live very comfortably. He realizes that this genuine affection is capable of bringing true warmth to his heart. Hyped about the place, his little sister calls the guy over to check out the amazing view from the window with them. The MC stays quiet for a brief second, processing that heartwarming scene. Then he takes a step forward to join his family. Walking up to them, the financial genius figures that dropping all that money on family really is no big deal. Night falls on the city, and the focus shifts straight to the massive headquarters of the Akyung Group. In the dark office, the chairman announces the director will head to the main branch tomorrow, since the dust from the scandal has settled. The rich man demands his heir step up in his new position and stop getting tangled up in petty drama. Playing totally submissive, Oh Kyung-sik nods to his dad's orders, who emphasizes that their time is running out. Staring out the window, the older man reveals he is going to take a trip to Gapyeong very soon. But before that appointment, he orders his son to seize total control of the brokerage as fast as possible. Far away from that scheme, the early morning hours roll by while the MC stays locked into his work inside his room. The rookie types away at his keyboard full speed, zeroed in on his master plan. The computer screen shows a secure transfer of personal and financial data. Over the chat, the guy checks if the corporate account is ready to go, getting a green light from his contact. Satisfied with how the chat went, the MC praises his secret ally's solid work. He tells his partner to hold down the fort, promising to push things forward as soon as he lands in the United States. Stretching in his chair, the young guy admits setting up an international company cost a pretty penny. However, he guarantees all it takes is shooting a fax over to Switzerland the next morning to sort the issue out for good. Already at the office during his shift, the spy notices the paperwork and offers to help shred the documents. He explains he was just cleaning up the mess, but ends up taking the girl up on her favor. The colleague spots one of the papers and notices it is a document sent to an American number. Catching the girl's curiosity, Di-woo asks her to keep it on the down low and says that matter is strictly top secret. Suddenly, the loud buzzing of the fax machine ringing cuts through the vibe at the rookie's desk. He asks his ally for a second and grabs the call with serious urgency. On the other end of the line, the European bank confirms they got the fax and says they are at the client's service. Straight to the point, the MC asks for the transfer to be pushed through immediately. The rep asks for the account number and password, and the guy rattles off the codes totally casually. His identity clears perfectly, and the banker asks for the destination and the amount for the wire. The rookie reads off the American bank details and demands the transfer of a staggering $10 million. The transaction goes through fast, and the employee thanks the client for his business. Mission accomplished, the guy drops the receiver back on the base at his desk. Relaxing his shoulders, he feels relieved, wondering if that fortune will finally fix his funding problem. In his mind, a little guilt creeps in, admitting he didn't really want to touch that dirty money. Leaning back in his chair, the young guy knows that massive asset belonged to his former rich dad. Memories reveal the old man kept that secret stash in Switzerland to secure the autistic son's future. In his past life, only the two of them knew about the account, which ended up forgotten after the heir's tragic end. At the end of the day, all that hidden cash ended up getting buried by the enemy group's greed. He feels bad about the setup, hating that he has to use the emergency savings from that absent old man. His deep thoughts get cut off by Sun-hee, who taps his shoulder asking if he has heard the latest news. The girl gossips that the wicked manager took over his new gig at the brokerage's main headquarters that exact same morning. Outraged by the total BS, she brings up how the coward vanished after the scandal and still managed to score a promotion. The ally notes the entire team was disgusted, thinking it was absurd even by the corporation's standards. The spy wonders where all that wealth comes from, since the family blows cash like they are the richest in the country. The MC gets curious about the info and asks if this rival company really goes back that far. The girl confirms with total certainty that they are one of the most traditional corporations in the entire market. The ally explains these guys have been running their business freely since the Japanese colonial era. It all started in a tiny mom-and-pop shop, which exploded with growth after the liberation and turned into this empire. Processing the rivals' shady past, Diwoo starts getting suspicious of their group's main headquarters. The chat dies down when manager Kang shows up in the office totally drenched in sweat with his clothes all wrinkled. Breathing heavily from exhaustion, the leader points his finger right at the rookie looking furious. The older guy asks if the kid caused some massive problem, but the young guy quickly denies any blame. Pissed off, Kang demands to know why there is a mob of clients at the door demanding to speak only to him. The manager grumbles that the crowd almost ripped his pants off, and that it was an absolute nightmare escaping from there. The young guy keeps his cool and says he has absolutely no clue what all that chaos is about. Sighing in frustration, the leader tells the kid to hit the counter and sort out the trading history. But the genius guarantees he doesn't need to do that, since he read the report days ago and memorized the whole thing. The boss's eyes go wide in outrage, chewing the employee out for thinking this is the time to joke around. Keeping calm, the MC realizes he is going to have to prove his skills right there in front of everyone. Out of nowhere, the staff tests his memory, firing off client data and their profit margins. One of his coworkers tries to corner the guy with complex details about the sectors each investor went after. The test keeps going with the exact history of dates and preferences from other old trades. Scanning the files, the team confirms that absolutely every single one of the rookie's answers is dead on. The veteran confirms his accounts match the office's printed records perfectly. The crew flips out over the reveal, whispering in awe about the young financial genius's brain power. Kang hears the gossip and asks, totally mind-blown, how the guy managed to lock away all that info. Turning on his charm, Diwoo shrugs and claims he simply has an exceptional memory. In his head, the strategy was pure hustle to dump the heavy lifting onto the team's shoulders. Instantly, Boss Kang orders the spy to go help sort the paperwork, and she nods right away. The older man barks out tasks, warning that the line of investors is already backing up traffic in the city. Watching his boss's hustle, the MC internally praises his ability to get things handled. However, Kang yells at the rookie to rush to the service desk, and the guy takes over counter number 3. Tapping the stack of reports on the desk, the genius says hello and kicks off the service for that very long day. The MC introduces himself politely and is immediately asked by the client if he happens to be the famous manager of that branch. Being totally real, he clears it up that he doesn't hold the title yet, but the man guarantees that hardly matters given the fame of his name. The investor excitedly mentions the rumor that the young guy managed to bump someone's capital by 40% in just 2 weeks. On top of that, the man points out the guy's intelligence was obvious, since he was the only one who didn't pitch the rival company before the scandal. Finding all this sudden hype pretty funny, the financial genius just gives a light laugh and says thanks for the compliment. Right then, the client nervously checks his surroundings and warns that this is no time to joke around, because a certain chairman has his eye on him. This big shot is actually Han Myung-guk, an incredibly intimidating guy known by everyone as the ultimate godfather of business. Staying on alert, the man reveals the rich guy is the kingpin of the private loan world and advises the rookie to watch his back closely. The gossip doesn't shake the MC, who cracks a tiny smile and wonders what the real reason behind this weird surveillance could be. With an unbreakable posture, he internally concludes that this whole setup leaves him really wanting to meet the mobster face to face.